I've been working on this leading horses to water for about 5 years now. At first, I just wanted to be a personal trainer. I wanted to help people get into better shape. But I realized something really important. People often do the right thing for the wrong reasons. So, for working out, a lot of people just want to work out so they look good for their next relationship, so they can gain something externally. They don't do it just so they can feel good on the inside. A lot of these habits don't stick over time. You lose the coach, you lose the results, you slip back into your habits. So I had to wonder, why do I have a lot of these same things happen in my life where I can progress, but then I take that one step forward, I take another step back, another step forward, two steps back, I might give up for 6 months. I'm fed up with the instant gratification. It doesn't work anymore. The vices quit working. The things that make me feel better, my coping mechanisms, the things that I use as a crutch to avoid accountability so I can continue to blame the world, other people, our government, so I can blame away, so I can be a victim, so I can be triggered by little things. So it's the biggest coping mechanism most people have is being a victim. Because if it's not your fault, you don't have to do anything about it. You don't have to change, right? So the last 6 months to a year, 2 years really, 2 years ago I started talking about it. The last year I've been putting it into action. The last 6 months I've really got out of my own way. And I'm realizing that it's the shame, it's the lowest emotion, it's an identity of being a broken person. It's identifying with your traumas to the point where I am this way because of these reasons. It allows us to avoid accountability because if you are healed, if you can just recognize and identify as being healed, and it takes some work, but some people never even want to think about that being a possibility. Once you're healed, the ball's in your court. What are you going to do now? You can't blame away anymore. So being healed comes with its own problems. Being responsible, being accountable, or let's say being a victim comes with its own benefits. You don't have to be accountable. You never have to grow. You never have to change. You can continually use the comforts. You never have to go through that uncomfortable. It really is about avoiding the uncomfortable change that is growth. Okay? It's about feeling safe that this world is the way you think it is, and that these negative emotions of guilt, which should be the lowest one, you shouldn't feel shame. Shame is an identity of self, and guilt is about behaviors. You should feel bad about your negative behaviors. That's good for you. Then you can change. You can use that as a navigation system, and you hit that guilt and you're like, oh man, I shouldn't act like that. I should change. But if you do something that most people would feel guilty for doing, and you just say, oh, well, I'm a piece of crap, or I'm dumb, I'm stupid, I'm not that smart, I'm too poor, wham, I'm broken, you just don't understand my childhood, or these relationships, or the way people treat me, or if my genetics, or all these things, it's avoiding accountability because for genetics, there's epigenetics. Your environment plays the biggest role. There's about 5% of people that are sick that are actually just going to be sick. The rest are just not behaving appropriately. It's hard to swallow that pill. Also very freeing because that means most likely your situation is something you can change. You have the power. Now, if you've given that power away, that's on you. But please don't teach other people that they are stuck in the same crap that you're stuck in because that's not good for the kids that we talk about. Everyone's like, hey, you got to do it for the kids. Quit telling them that they're a victim. That's the worst thing you can do. Quit telling them that they're broken. Quit telling them that the things in their life that are meant to help them grow are these things that are unfair and we shouldn't have to go through. Life is so good that we don't have to suffer anymore in the ways that, going to war, working in really crazy environments, going without food. We don't have to suffer like that anymore. It's created very comfortable people to the point where discomfort is like this negative thing where I shouldn't have to feel that way and I shouldn't have to do that, and should. But the way the world works is we are human beings meant to grow. We're meant to grow spiritually, we're meant to grow intellectually. We're supposed to grow with our mindset, which is our perspective, the way we look at the world is supposed to grow. The same person who's 25, if they look at the world the same way when they're 50 or 60 years old, they have not grown. Okay? You should grow emotionally. You need to grow spiritually. You need to grow physically and socially. And these things help create a well rounded human being. That's someone that is capable of experiencing joy and fulfillment, capable of self actualizing at the top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. They're able to even possibly reach enlightenment or have brief periods of that in their life where they're so connected to everything around them that there's this transcendence feeling of not even feeling like a human or a person anymore. You just feel like you are the things around you. They are you and you are them, you know? And it's impossible to describe these levels of consciousness in words. You have to experience them. You know, it's like your first kiss. It's like eating pizza. You can't just be like, yeah, pizza's delicious. You're like, oh, try pizza. You're like, oh my gosh, that is crazy. Who made that? Right? Jeez. Conquering shame. This course in the beginning, okay, there's levels. In the beginning, if you're not capable of doing anything for yourself as far as change, you're not capable of hitting the gym, you're not capable of reading books, you just have bad habits, that's totally cool. You can change all that if you want to. Very slowly. Sometimes quickly. But not sustainably. So, and it becomes too frustrating. You start to crack, pressure builds up, and then if you try to grow too fast, bad things happen. You got to build a solid foundation first. And it really just comes into the acknowledgement and acceptance of things. There's not really necessarily a reason to feel like you can't do it. There's no reason to feel like you just need to wish your life away anymore. With the simple steps in this program, there's a system you can establish in your own life that allows you to grow. And if you can grow a little bit and you can grow consistently, then there's no limit to how much you can grow, okay? You can grow in all the areas that you thought maybe you just couldn't. And that's a limiting belief, saying, I can't. Boom, now you've established it, which is great because it's the coping mechanism. Now you don't even have to try. You don't even have to put the work in. You can avoid that altogether. That's your right. If that's what you want to do, this is not for you. I suggest doubling down on whatever comforts you're using. Go harder. Way harder. It's like getting caught with the pack of like smoking a cigarette when you're a kid and they make you smoke the whole pack. You should do that. Instead of just eating some slices of pizza, you should always aim to eat all the pizza. Always eat all that food. How does it make you feel? Eventually, it's going to stop making you feel good, and you're going to just feel like crap all the time. Even while you're eating it, because you're going to realize what's to come. You know, you can only hide for so long before the things that worked quit working. And then you become old and irritable. You become discontent. You become this like really just, life sucks. This is unfair. We're living in hell. Life's a bitch and then you die. And you don't care about all the negative behaviors because you're like, oh, gotta go somehow. I used to do that, smoking smokes. Oh, I gotta die somehow, you know? Oh, well, whatever. Sucks to suck. Life's a bitch. That's a way of looking at things. But it's not beneficial for growth, okay? So if you want to chase comforts, if you want to use people, if you want to not believe in yourself, if you want to continue cheering for certain identities and allow them to rule the world in a way that doesn't allow other people to participate in a way that's healthy, that's fine. That's your right. You're free. But if you want to grow, if you want to grow and feel good, if you want to have love in your life and that joy, that peace of mind that there's no laying in bed and thinking about, oh man, today I should have done this and should have done that, and oh man, what if I would have done this, and you got to work and you're like, oh man, if I go to sleep right now I get like 3 hours. Yeah, I might have 8 hours of sleep if I go to sleep right now. And it's like, oh snap. Well, okay, if I go to sleep right now, I'll have 5 hours. And you're sitting there and you're thinking, tossing and turning, you can't get comfortable, and you're thinking about the next day and what's going to happen, and what if you see this, and what if that, and blah, 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 blah. And you're like, oh man, if I go to sleep, I'll get 3 hours. And then I used to do that a long time ago, and I can relate to that. The important part here is to acknowledge that there is a change that's wanted. This is only a voluntary thing. No one's going to force you to change, okay? And I used to use my power to say, no one can make me change. I'll die this way. And I'm okay with that. And I think that a lot of people need to understand that that's just the cutting off your nose to spite your face. We were told a lot of misinformation. We were told a lot of things that we shouldn't have been told by people that shouldn't have been telling us. They had no right to do what they did, but they did it. Things have happened. So let's move forward. Let's conquer this shame. Let's change our identity to a loving, amazing person. Let's change our identity to someone that can actually change the world by changing ourselves. It all starts with us, because once you change, other people are infected. We're all here in a collective consciousness. Our energies interact with each other. They change each other. If you're going around being mean to everybody, you might ruin some people's days. If you go around smiling all the time, telling jokes, laughing, singing, just generally being amazing, other people feel great. And that keeps going. So yes, one person can change the world. We have the power to change the world. It's not going to be one person that changes the whole world. It's going to be us together changing the world, okay? Conquering shame is the beginning. It leads into needing to be a person of integrity. So this whole wanting to have a fit body, but still wanting cheat meals, why are you so interested in cheating on yourself? If you understand the chemicals in this food, the inflammation that it causes, the disease that it causes, the amount of health issues that you have, and the amount of suffering that happen later on, you wouldn't want to even do those anymore. But too many of us, myself included, have wanted to hold on to the old life and have the new life. I want to have the benefits from the new life and the benefits from the old life and kind of mingle them together. It doesn't work that way. You got to let go. You got to sacrifice that old life. You got to throw yourself in the proverbial fire, phoenix rising from the ashes. Whoa, that kind of thing, right? You don't get to have both. You can try. I spent my whole life doing that. As soon as I let go of the past, that tether, that one anchor point, it's like in that movie with Russell Crowe where they're cutting the rope and then they're like going to sink the ship because the mast fell off and it's pulling the ship. And they cut the thing and boom, that tether point to the past is gone and the boat moves forward, doesn't sink. But you're likely to sink your ship, you're likely to get frustrated, you're likely to give up on progressing, and then you are back to the tether point. You're back to the coping, the vices, for me it was the drinking, the smoking, the eating, the using people in relationships. It was the just not ever really happy, but I could do things that could make me happy. But if I looked at my life, I was miserable. Now, if I look at my life, it's like, oh, wow, this is amazing. I'm living in heaven. I'm living in perfection. And that's not saying that I'm perfect or that my life is perfect, but it is also saying that because the important part is how you look at your life, right? Now, that doesn't mean things couldn't improve and continually get better. Things get better and better. But if you can just look at things as perfect, because they're there to aid your growth, they're there for you to enjoy now and be in the present moment, then you'll realize that everything is perfect, just as it is right now. Getting to integrity is difficult because doing what you say you're going to do isn't easy, right? How many people say, I'm going to go to the gym tomorrow and then don't do it? I'm going to start my meal prep tomorrow and don't do it. I'm going to do this thing and then not do it. All the time. People are just constant, just to hear themselves say it, like, I'm going to go hit the gym. I'm going to go work out. I'm going to go do these things. Like, oh man, you could just go do that. You know, the thing is that the obstacles are going to pop up. When you're new into something, you're going to have obstacles. You're going to have the thing. You decide that I'm going to start this new thing. Know there's an obstacle coming to test you. And because you know that there's an obstacle coming, when it pops up, boom, you got it. You're not going to want to feel like doing it when it's time to do it. Know that. In the beginning, you're going to have to push yourself. You're going to have to commit. It's how you gain integrity. You're like, I don't even feel like doing this, but I'm going to do it anyways. That's how you gain self-confidence. That's how you're like, oh my gosh, I can do what I say I'm going to do. If you can do that on the little things, you can do that with building the business. You can do that with finishing school. You can do that with having a good family. You can do that with any other aspect of your life because you're able to do it with small things. But if you can't keep your word with small things, you can't keep your word with big things. Integrity, what stops most people from integrity is shame in the beginning, and then it's the pride, right? It's the lack of humility, the inability to say, maybe I'm wrong about this. Maybe I'm not behaving properly. Maybe I'm not living correctly. Maybe there's hope for change. And as you go down the path, you don't even need hope anymore because you develop faith. You have this super strong belief that you're just on the path. You'll get synchronicities, you'll have these things happen, and it's mind-boggling in the beginning. You're like, whoa, I was just thinking about that, then it happened. Is this manifestation? Oh my gosh, wow. It happens. And the synchronicities become just a normal part of life. You'll start seeing things where, and they're important for you. You can't try to explain that to other people because they're not you. They're not from your perspective. They don't have your life's experience for that synchronicity, that happening to be important. But for you, you understand it, you feel it, right? So this is all a personal path. This life is your life, okay? I want to help you live the best life you can have. I want you to be able to believe in yourself. I want you to be able to love yourself. I want you to be able to grow. And I want you to be able to help other people. My main goal with this thing is to create other teachers, to create other coaches, to create people that heal themselves. And because they healed themselves, they are now able to help heal other people. And if that happens for enough people, we can change the world. And I know that because that's how these religions have started. That's how any sort of civilization has created a mass following into something, and it just spreads and creates and is beneficial. Now, the problem is eventually someone in the organization gets too much power, it gets corrupt, things don't go the way they're supposed to, and I've already figured out ways to mitigate that problem in the future. I have been thinking about this for at least 5 years. I've had other friends help me. I'm not working on this alone. And it's so beautiful to be able to get you in on this because it's viable. It's a real thing. You know, once you conquer the shame, you conquer your pride. And pride doesn't mean don't be proud of your work, don't do a good job, don't not have that good strong feeling. That's good pride. But the bad pride is the ego. This is all about transcending ego. This whole thing. Because shame is an identity. Egos love identity. That's all ego is identity. So shame, identity. The pride is, I'm not wrong and so important. Wham. That's like the narcissistic stuff everyone talks about. It's like everyone's this kind of thing. They have these behaviors. You get to know someone and eventually they just turn out to not be the way you thought. It's the ego, right? So you never get rid of it per se, but you can transcend it. You can incorporate it in your life and allow it to actually be beneficial. Eventually, you want to get to the point spiritually where you don't identify as anything, and that's called non-duality, but that's outside the scope of this current first course. That would be the last one. I'm not there yet, so I can't teach you something that I don't know, but I'm aiming to get there. It seems like the place to be. But right here is the place to be too. So there's no like, that's going to be better than this. This is what it is. This is the now. So this is perfect, right? So in the beginning, you have this open door, and you're like, oh my gosh, I get to go in the open door. Level 1. Boom. That's just as amazing as level 100. In the beginning, you have all this awe and imagination. It might be kind of unbelievable, but I've been there. Other people have been there. If you read any book about personal development, it's basically the same things. I feel like what they leave out though is this bind to shame. That's my story. The way that I grew up and the way that I blamed my coping mechanisms and my traumas, my past life stuff, all ties into self-sabotaging behaviors, attempted suicides, not caring about myself or other people, being super selfish and using things for my own gratification. And eventually, all of that quit working, and I'm super thankful for it because I was able to then seek a new solution. So, when you gain integrity by setting super small goals, I did it by progressing with adding one thing to my life I knew I needed to do, and for me, it was getting out into the sunlight and dropping one bad habit. And for me, it's food related because what you're putting into your body is causing more problems in more areas than people realize. When if you have inflammation, you don't just have arthritis and inflamed joints. If it gets to that point where your joints hurt, some of these foods cause leaky gut, which then allows the blood-brain barrier to be crossed with chemicals that aren't supposed to be there. So you can inflame your brain. And what happens when you inflame your brain? Who even really knows? Do you think anxiety and depression and all these negative feelings might come, this sluggish feeling, this like, I need more caffeine, need more stimulants, need more, might be from a sluggish brain? Maybe the brain. I mean, it's not that hard to look up. It's not that hard to look up. For me, I gave up bread. I gave up the gluten. I love it. I had to give up pizza. It's all part of the same thing. I eventually gave up dairy. And those two food groups. So I started off with one thing, and I eventually led into the cheese. I still mingle with some yogurt and some stuff, but I can kind of tell it's not really working that well. So, but the bread had to become non-negotiable because that's what was making my face break out. It was making me get an itchy scalp. I could scratch my hair. I'd see the dandruff. I'd be super sleepy. And I'm trying to accomplish things with my life. And if I could go get a pizza and smash that pizza, I'm not going to the gym. I'm not going to read a book. I'm not going to do anything but watch TV and kind of just melt into the couch. And I'll wake up being like, oh man, I don't feel that good. I shoulda, coulda, woulda done all these other things. I eventually went through that cycle enough times where I'm like, okay. I can't hold on to the old life anymore and continue with my new life. So I cut tethers. I'm not even sure. I'd have to analyze my situation again in order to figure out what I'm still tethered to. I'd say it's caffeine and a couple other things, but for the most part, I'm getting out of my own way to the point where I can just walk forward and I don't have to walk backwards and forward, backwards, forward, and exhaust myself. I can just have a leisurely stroll through the park and continue to grow. And I don't see that ever stopping. So, getting out of your own way, conquering shame, getting over that pride and into integrity are the beginning parts. After shame, you've got guilt. What are you guilty for? Right? Apathy. Ooh, I don't even care. Oh, that sucks. Well, what are you going to do then? I didn't care ever, so nothing mattered. Better than having that shame feeling, though. Grief. Oh, why did she break up with me? Wah. Why did my friends die? Why did all these things happen? Why is this world such a crappy place? Wah. Right? That stuff sucks. Fear. I would be so scared and anxious that I couldn't even go into the grocery store sometimes. I couldn't even go into the gym. I would park in the parking lot and just think, oh man, I'm not going in there. I made it all the way here. My anxiety is so bad. I am not going in there. Oh well. Fear. Man, that shit sucks. Then you got desire. Oh man, once I get that car, oh man, once I move into that new apartment, oh man, once I get that other job, man, once I get that chick, oh man, once I get those clothes, oh man, once I get those things, once I get those things, I'll be okay. That's desire. It's okay to follow your intuition, your passions, and that inner desire, that pull, and that's way different. And unless you've really worked on yourself, you probably don't have a clear picture of what that is. Probably stuck on the external crackhead looking for his crack rock. Desire. Anger. Ooh, it feels good to be angry. You feel nice and powerful. And that's what integrity is about, is getting to the power, empowerment, to just be able to create the life you want. But anger comes with too many negative consequences. And you're emotionally inept, which means you're not able to make good, clear decisions for yourself, healthy decisions. You might have a little road rage. Now that dude cut me off. Oh no, don't they? Doesn't he know who I am? I'm gonna speed up and maybe I'll run him off the road. Maybe I'll follow him home and show him who the real boss is. Right? You ever do that? Maybe I'll just get out of my car and start beating on windows. A lot of people are lucky they don't get shot. I've been lucky that I never had a pistol pointed in my face, other than the couple of times that I was robbed for doing some other stuff I shouldn't have been doing. Anger. Then it gets you right into the pride, conquering that pride with humility, which really just comes to I'm a small part of this whole world. I'm not that significant. I'm also infinitely awesome. So here comes the paradox, right? But not infinitely awesome in a way that I'm better than you or better than this or that. We're all infinitely awesome. And the humility just levels the playing field again. It doesn't have to be this superior, inferior feeling anymore. It just becomes the, oh yeah, hey, what's up? Another version of me. Aren't we dominating this amazing life together? This is so beautiful. And then you get into really, it takes the courage to get there, right? So with courage is when you tap into integrity and you're like making those hard. It takes courage to say I'm going to do something. It takes courage to say I'm going to do things I don't feel like doing. It takes courage to level up. Once you have that integrity, you're able to follow through with anything you put your mind to. That's what this whole course is about. It's about allowing yourself to heal your past traumas, change your identity of who you think you are. It allows you to grow in a way where stop being an egotistical a-hole, and then you're able to have the courage to conquer anything you want. You don't have to worry about any of those negative emotions. You don't even really have to be guilty about anything, because you can create your own moral compass and say, oh, I'll just avoid these behaviors because they make me feel guilty. But it's really important in the beginning as a buffer. And just don't identify as broken. That shame, we're all the same. We don't have to identify as this broken thing. It doesn't matter how bad it was, how far down that road, how terrible it was. You can always just say, okay, that was then, and I'm starting new. And I challenge you to do that. I challenge you to make the decision to say that I am worth it. Say I'm worth it. Say it with me right now. I am worth it. I love myself. Say it. I love myself. I love myself. I'm going to do one thing today to make my life better. I'm going to stop doing one thing today to make my life better. And do it again tomorrow, and the next day, and the next day. And do that consistently and watch your life get better. And as it gets better, you'll believe me more and more, and you'll have an easier time working on these things. Eventually, you get to the point where you're like, okay, you figured something out here. How far can we take this? And I don't know yet. Exactly. But I'm willing to grow with you, and we can figure that out together. Okay? So have a fun journey. It's all about the journey. It's not about the destination. It's not about becoming a saint or like an avatar, some super high level spiritual thingy. It's more about just enjoying the now. And in the moment, there should be a huge feeling of relief of like, oh, okay, I could do this. I don't have to continue down this just, ick. Not fun. But obviously, the people this doesn't resonate with will continue, and good for them. I miss being able to eat pizza every day. I miss being able to just smoke and do whatever I wanted. That was fun while it was fun. And when it stopped being fun, then I became a real mess because now my self soothing things quit working. I had to get over my limiting beliefs of these excuses of I work night shift, right? So I always had to say like, "Oh man, I got to go straight home and sleep all day before my next shift because I'll always be so tired." Oh my gosh. Well, guess what? I actually do stuff before my shift and after my shift, and I can sleep in between a smaller window because I don't have to sleep all the time. And I attribute that to the beliefs and the food. Okay? So, happy growing, and see you soon.